Characteristics of the changing American workforce and work-life benefits have been widely discussed. Let's take a look at workforce trends. Projections suggest that coming decades will bring more women, older workers, temporary employees, minorities, and immigrants into positions in both the public and private sectors. The rise in dual career couples and non-traditional families, along with the need to consider both work and caregiving for dependent children and elderly parents, adds to the stress of home and career. As the workforce grows more diverse, pressures will intensify for policies that address the special needs of these employees. Thus, an employer assistance in meeting childcare and elder care responsibilities will be priority concerns for members of the sandwich generation, as will flextime and parental leave policies. Telecommuting might have a particular appeal for the more technologically sophisticated members of Generation X and new millennials. Alternative work arrangements and cafeteria-style benefit plans will appeal to employees who seek a better balance between job and home life and whose benefits preferences may change over the life cycle of their employment. Workers who are downshifting, scaling back their career ambitions, and giving more time and attention to their family and personal needs may find part-time work and job-sharing options appealing. Those losing their positions because of downsizing caused by government reductions in force or outsourcing will press employers for employee relocation assistance. These trends will come up against the countervailing pressures in the workplace. There is a need for organizations to consider adopting employee-friendly policies to attract and retain staff. Public managers need to respond to these competing demands of the workforce and workplace in crafting policy. Employers need to decide how to best respond to work and family conflicts and whether such responses require institution-sponsored services or modifications to benefits packages. 5 programs address these dual employee-employer concerns: childcare, elder care, parental and military leave, adoption assistance, and domestic partnership coverage. These programs' types, plus those discussed subsequently, illustrate that one activity represents a small part of a much broader approach to holistically and strategically managing employee-responsive policies. A relatively small percentage of private and public employers provide childcare on or off premises. A far larger proportion offer financial assistance for off-site childcare, and many more provide information and referral services. Caring for elderly relatives is an increasingly common, time-consuming, expensive, and stress-inducing problem. A study reports that the percentage of adult children providing personal care and/or financial support to a parent has more than tripled in the past 15 years. A quarter of adult children currently provide such care to a parent. The Family Medical Leave Act of 1993 guarantees eligible workers up to 12 weeks during any 12-month period of unpaid leave. It's not surprising that parental leave policies are among the most prevalent of the 5 items discussed in this course and governments and private sector organizations. Adoption assistance includes benefits ranging from time off to reimbursement of expenses following the adoption of a child. Domestic partnership coverage consists of the benefits such as health insurance, retirement benefits, and sick or bereavement leave that may be made available to a person designated as a domestic partner of an employee. Each of the 5 work-family programs discussed in this course is likely to appeal to a different group of employees. The main reasons employers provide such supportive programs are to improve morale and job satisfaction. Typical personal concerns are the accessibility of wellness programs, the range of activities offered, cost-sharing arrangements, convenience, and privacy. Employers are inclined to focus on issues of program demand and productivity returns on whether funds are invested. 4 relevant initiatives are stress reduction programs, wellness programs, safety initiatives, and employee assistance programs, each of which is discussed in turn below. The causes and consequences of stress at work have been widely discussed, and the human resource management implications of stress are important. Too much stress impedes individual and organizational performance, but too little stress can also be counterproductive. The goals of wellness programs are to alter unhealthy personal habits and lifestyles and to promote behaviors conducive to health and well being. Employers offer such services as health assessment, risk appraisals, screenings, injections, and health and nutrition education and counseling. Federal and state laws protect employees from being endangered by unsafe workplaces. Provisions of the Occupational Safety and Health Act provide employees with several rights if they are concerned about unsafe conditions and practices in the workplace. State laws typically conform closely to this federal legislation. Organizations with employee assistance programs known as EAPs use them to improve employee health and help employees cope with personal problems such as difficulties resulting from work or family conflict. Institutional sponsorship of health and wellness programs signals to individuals that the organization is concerned about their well-being. Worker surveys indicate that substantial portions of the workforce support practices like flextime, job sharing, and telecommuting. Flextime work schedules allow differential starting and quitting times but specify a required number of hours within a particular period. Another flex option is the compressed work week, in which the number of hours worked per week is condensed into fewer days. Clearly, the greatest flexibility is present when combinations of these options are made available to employees. Core needs need to be taken to ensure that there is adequate staffing during non-core hours. Compressed schedules may be less successful in smaller organizations, where staff coverage for leave-taking employees may be inadequate. Telecommuting, discussed next, is another type of flexible benefit. Telecommuters are people who work away from the traditional work location, like at home, satellite locations, or on the road. The part-time employment rate in the United States is 13.4%. The country with the highest part-time employment rate is the Netherlands at 37%. Selected full-time employees that want to reduce their schedule with work hours and their pay, and some employees prefer this option as a way to reduce labor costs. The rise of contingent workforce is tied to employers' need for flexibility and to employees' desire for variable work schedules and employment. The hiring of temps has been a common accompaniment of downsizing in business, and it's becoming more evident in government as belt-tightening occurs. Leave sharing and pooling are types of employee-to-employee job benefits whereby healthy workers donate sick time or other benefits to coworkers in crisis. Job sharing enables two employees to split the responsibilities, hours, and salary, and usually the benefits of a full-time position. Among the best predicators of workforce flexibility initiatives are women and minorities in the workforce. In seeking to create pro-employee environments, employers must remove threats to worker well-being. This includes reducing the likelihood of intimidation, harassment, threats, conflict, or violence. Here, it's important to emphasize that managers and officials committed to employee-friendly policies need to consider ways to avoid or cope with hostility. Workforce violence is so pervasive, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention classifies it as a national epidemic. It's important that employers recognize those most at risk, the warning signs or red flags that deserve attention, and the various types of workplace violence and rationales, and the steps necessary for appropriate action. Some warning signs for a potential workplace violence situation include poor workplace situations, the presence of an individual, family, or social problem, aggressive behavior in the workplace, and more. Workplace violence can occur, and it takes various forms, including violence by strangers lacking any relationship between the worker and the violent person, violence by customers or clients, and violence by coworkers. Finally, why and how might organizations best respond to workplace violence? The rationale for action is linked to several concerns, including the costly nature of violence incidents, zero tolerance for abusive, threatening, or violent behavior, and anticipated changes in the workplace environment. What form should action take? Here, policies, plans, and programs as well as procedures are needed. Organizations can forge cooperative relationships with law enforcement officials to help inform workers on ways to prevent and avoid workplace violence. Security procedures can be reviewed and updated, and security devices, silent alarms, metal detectors, and so on, can be installed and maintained. Management can develop threat plans, offering guidance on how to respond to workplace threats, as well as post incident plans to be implemented in the aftermath of violent events. Most jurisdictions have such policies or programs, usually written but sometimes only verbal.